So if you've clicked on this video, chances are you are wondering why your scores are nowhere near as close to RATR, despite you having very similar stats, maybe missing a few crit damage here, a few speed there. And I wanted to talk about Nether Quarry in general. This is not going to be a boss guide. I'm not going to be making a whole end boss guide. I don't even have any attempts left, and my score isn't that high compared to the top players. And I'm not really that high either in the leaderboard. Now, my excuse is I did miss a day because I had a flight to catch. But even if I could actually do Nether Quarry on that day, I don't think I would have been even in the top 50. Maybe I would have. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm underselling myself. But I've been playing this game since day one. I'm not a PvP main and I'm not a PvE main. I'm like somewhere in the middle where I try to do a little bit of both. I try to do a little bit of everything. But because I've been having very bad experiences with RTA recently, I decided that I will put most of my resources into PvE and see how far that gets me. And along the way, I did also know or realize what the things that a lot of players are missing to min-max their Nether Quarry scores. The first thing that a lot of people kind of overlook when it comes to min-maxing is the hyperkernel. Now, this is arguably the worst update in the game's history. This is the update that made a lot of people quit. Rightfully so. This is a whale update. This is made for whales, purely for whales. There are two things here that play a major role in your Nether Quarry score. The first one, which doesn't really play as big of a role as you might think, is the research lab. It does give you flat stats. At max level, which I don't think any whale has gotten to max level yet, but at max level, you can essentially just double every single stat here by 2. Just 5,000 HP, 400 defense, 500 attack, 10 speed. This is from what I heard, right? You get 1 speed every 5 level, and then these stats just cycle the same way. So I'm missing out on 2500 HP for Raymery, 250 attack for my attack scalers, 200 defense for Duanqi, and these two don't really matter. And then 5 speed, I'm not sure if it matters that much, and I don't think it matters at all. I don't think speed matters that much in the core, to be quite honest, because most people can just have the boss never move without really struggling, without even optimizing their turn cycling either. So this is the one thing that doesn't really affect you that much. And then here comes the other thing that actually plays a massive role in everyone's scores. It is not a hyper agency, it is the weekly quests. It's the hypercube fragments. I haven't gotten, so ever since this game mode came out, I have gotten 2 hypercube fragment missions from the weekly. 2. I think I might be the unluckiest one in the game when it comes to that, because this is very, very below average. Most people are getting it every other week. Some people are getting it even more than that. But hypercube fragments are the most important weekly quests that you should be doing every single week, because most people have a level 4 butcher, or like level 5. It says here level 4, but then here it says level 3. This game is a fucking mess, honestly. But most people have a level 5 here. Most people have basically this level, the one before the last one. So everyone, essentially what this means, everyone is going to have 2.4% more score than me just off of this alone. Without anything else, just off of this, everyone's going to have 2.4% more score than me. And from the hyper agency levels, they're going to have even more score. And then comes a very important part as well, the components. Most whales have the 20% bonus on all 4 of their butcher imprints. And not only that, not only do they have the 20%, they have good rolls on them. Now, if I show you my imprints, you're going to see, oh my god, 9.1%, 5%. Yeah, it is actually, this is almost max rolls on both. But the thing is, no 20% here. The funny thing is, I do have a 20% here, and look at how low this rolled. Because every single piece I have 20% on just low rolled to hell. This one actually didn't really low roll. It's still a lot lower than, I'm not sure how high the range is on the crit, and maybe it's different to the ultimate damage boost. But I low rolled the HP bonus, which is bad for Raymery. I could just use the Sentinel one for more HP, but I'm gonna be losing out on like almost 1% crit damage, so it's not worth it. But you know, whales can get multiple of these until they high roll. Whales can get multiple of these until they high roll again. You know, I have this on Butcher. This would give me 11% boss, so it would give me 2% more damage, but I would lose out on 5.7% ultimate damage for Raymery, which I don't. It might not be worth it, honestly. I think Raymery's damage is just too high. I could do the math and figure out if this is actually worth, because this would be 11% that boss damage boost, so it would be 2% damage for everyone, every single one on the team. So is it worth 2% damage for everyone over 5.7% ultimate damage? I'm not sure. I'll have to do the math on that. And then I have this one, which is the same as this one, but with a butcher 20%. And then you look at the values, and it just min-rolled. These values, min-rolling makes a shit ton of difference, especially in a game mode where it's all about min-maxing. Right? This game mode is all about min-maxing. So if you add up every single one of these aspects, you will realize why your scores are not nearly as high as someone like RTR, even if you copy all of his builds. Now, the second thing that I know for a fact matters a shit ton is your prowess. Everything here matters a lot when it comes to your scores. I have a P3 Rosa. P5 on your DPS, someone did the math, it gives 30% damage bonus from P0 to P5. Now from P3 for Rosa to P5, it's just a 10% because Rosa doesn't have crit here. Most DPSs do have crit on the fourth prowess. But then the other thing is the actual skill levels. At this point in the game, if you are an old player, this is not going to be a problem. If you're a newer player, this will be a big roadblock for a lot of people. Lattices, like, they really need to fix the lattice problem for new players. New players should be able to do Nether Quarry and RTA within like 3 months max. Within 3 months, new players should be comfortably competing in Nether Quarry and RTA. Any longer than that, and they're just going to quit and burn out. But I don't think the devs really care. But as you can see, you get a lot of attack from the P1. And you get multipliers. This one is just so that it's more consistent, that the boss doesn't move and you don't have to reset as much for Rosa. That's why I say speed doesn't really matter, because if you have max Rosa, if you have Raymery, then the boss is just never going to take a turn, regardless of your other unit speeds. And then if I go to the P2, the S2, you get crit rate, which is more damage. S3, you get speed, which isn't really a lot of damage, but you get the multipliers as well. Multipliers do add up. So prowess and skill levels are the second most important thing. Some people will argue that it is more important than the hyperkernel. It is up to debate. Both of these things are basically whale territory. I haven't gotten a single PvE dupe from summoning on the permanent banner. I summoned a shit ton on the permanent banner. All my Raymery dupes are bought or from the selector. All my Chloris dupes, I think actually one of my Raymery dupes was from the regular banner. And then another one was from her initial banner because I did summon on it. But yeah, what I want to say is I didn't get a single one from the permanent, or I got one, I think. I'm not sure. But I bought at least 3 of her dupes, and I did select one, if I recall. I didn't get a single Chloris dupe from Perma banner. All of these were bought or selected from the box. Bernova, I got P3 Bernova on his banner, then never saw him again. Wait, no. I got P2 Bernova because I was broke on permanent summons. Well, regardless, if you are unlucky with your summons, you're not gonna have prowesses. Even for me, I'm not a whale, but I'm not free to play. I do spend money on the game, but even then, that's not enough. You need to get lucky. Someone like Juan Lee, I got P1 from her banner, never saw her again. Someone like Lowen, Lowen is used a little bit in Nether Quarry. Juan Lee is absolutely one of the most important the core units. We haven't used her yet, but whenever we get a boss that requires Juan Lee, my score is just going to be dog shit. Someone like Juan Chi, I have in P5 because I wailed on his banner and because we got the growth bundle during his update, and I went to hard pity quite a bit. But yeah, my point is whales and lucky players are just going to have a massive advantage over normal players when it comes to prowess and well, skill levels. I'm not really going to talk too much about it. It's a problem that they need to fix for new players, but old players, they're not really struggling with lattices. The third most important thing when it comes to min-maxing that a lot of people don't really talk about is shells. Sword 7, I want to give an example with my Nether Quarry scores. My recent score is 4100 basically. I could have gotten more if I restarted even more, but you know, I'm not that much of a tryhard. I didn't reset a lot. But my very first score with resetting and perfect RNG was 3300. And that was because I was running Raymery on White Fang because I didn't have a shell. I didn't have a Sword 7 shell for her. I was running this Raymery on White Fang. And the difference between White Fang and Sword 7 is fucking massive. Shells do give a shit ton of boost when it comes to min-maxing, and it's not just the shell, it's the modules. You want to get the perfect, these are the perfect modules for Raymery. And then after you get the perfect modules, you want to get the perfect passives. I low rolled her HP bonus, that's 4% HP wasted. That's min roll crit damage, that's 6% crit damage here, but I did max roll this. Most whales, from what I've seen, all their passives are high rolls. I'm not gonna say max rolls. I've seen a shit ton of max roll PvE shells, but most whales have at least high roll passives, perfect shells on all of their units. For example, I have my Rosa here. She's not on the perfect matrices or modules, right? Matrix sets. She's not on the perfect matrix sets. You want Fury here. Battle Will doesn't do anything. Not only do you want Fury here, you also want odd damage. I'm missing out on 6% or like 5.5% damage here without even talking about her prowess. That's a lot of damage that I'm missing out on for not having max rolled shells. And then if I go to her modules, as you can see, I'm forcing Keen Eye. This is better. This gave me a boost in scores. This actually gave me like 100 boost or like over 100 boost in scoring. Because Battle Well on her is just absolutely worthless. And then the last point, besides shells are something that you can farm even if you're free to play, but they take a shit ton of resources. I want to show you guys because I was willing to use an Octonode. Yeah, I do have an Octonode. I was willing to use an Octonode on one of my Sword 7s to get the Fury one because you do need it quite a bit. But I'm not going to use it when I spent 4 million training data trying to get anything, and this is like the best I could have gotten. I'm not going to use my Octonodes until I get perfect passives. So I'm hoping the next boss, which is Jacquus, right? I hope he's not really too hard on the Sword 7 requirements because I am broke. I did use a lot of stabilizers, which I don't recommend anyone do, but I did use like 10 or like 8 stabilizers today, just trying to get the currency, trying to see if I can even get the shell, the Sword 7 shell, the perfect one without having to use my Octonode. And the whales wouldn't really struggle in this regards because they are max refreshing every single day. And by the way, I'm not saying it as a bad thing. Whales should inherently have an advantage, but it shouldn't be to the point that it is just gated by paywalling. This is paywall. This is just absolute. There is not much you can do as a free to play about this. There is a shit ton of packs that do give you the hypercube. Yeah, the hypercubes that you automatically have an advantage. That's besides the fact that I got extremely unlucky on my hyper agency. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to RTR. That guy is like, without his guides, I don't think anyone would be doing these guides. But for people that are copying his original builds, RTR does the video within like the first few hours of the Nether Quarry, and then he just optimizes his builds. So I do reckon that he swapped from Amber to Sword 7 on Yuan Chi because his video he was using a fast Amber, and I do reckon that he swapped his Santic and Dyna for semi DPS, sub DPS builds because that's what I did. That's what I did on my Yuan Chi, Dyna, and Santic to go from 3300 all the way to 4100, which does get me to my last point, which is my fourth point, or like the fourth thing that does affect your Nether Quarry scores, a decent chunk is your modules. You know, people might have expected modules to be the most impactful thing, but no, shells do impact you more. By the way, I'm not talking about the module stats, I'm talking about the individual modules, the substats, but mainly the substats. Shells do matter more, dupes do matter more, skill levels do matter more, hyperkernel does matter more. So for example, something like my Santic, I can't really show the presets that I use because I don't have any more tries. But what I essentially did on Santic is I stripped a lot of his speed. I took like 15 speed and I just gave him a lot more crit. As you can see, well, not here. You know, I swapped this from a gold speed just to a more crit rate. This is more damage stats and even more damage stats. This is also more damage stats. And I was using a crit rate piece here as well. I think it was time wave piece. And it's like Santic is a support. He's not going to matter that much, but it does matter. It does add up. These scores, these optimizations do add up quite a bit. I did the same thing for my Dinah. I gave her 12 momentum. Well, that's because I do have this shell, just randomly. I was like, okay, why not? Let me try 12 momentum because Dinah's damage is, you know, it's not non-existent. It like optimizing Dinah and Santic probably gave me 50 points at least. 50 extra points. And because I didn't make them as fast, they didn't take as many turns, which allowed the DPSs to take more turns. But when you have Rosa, it doesn't really matter because every support just procs Rosa, which procs Framery, so it doesn't really matter. But the animation of them having to proc Rosa does take a little bit of the points off. And then Juan Chi, I actually did do a massive change. I was doing double crit damage, but one of my crit damage pieces didn't have a lot of defense bonus, so I did swap it to this piece, and my Juanchi damage I think went from 1.3 million on his S1 to 1.5 to 1.6 just by swapping this piece out and giving him I think I did swap this for more crit damage as well, and I do have this piece. So I was just trying, you know, just min-maxing my matrices, because this is what most free-to-plays will be able to do, is just min-max your matrices. Shells, it's RNG. You can't really do too much about shells. You can, like, I'm missing 4% damage here. This one max rolled, so I got lucky on it. But something like Rose's shell, I just don't have the min-maxed modules. So you just have to try and, you know, get the best out of what like the hand that you're given. If you can't get the Fury shell for Rosa, you can be creative, do piece key and I. Battle Wall isn't really that good. Or, you know, you could do one Battle Wall for the attack bonus and then just use a piece that has insane substats. This is another thing that you can do instead of using Fury, since you don't have the Fury shell. For, you know, for a lot of people, this is where they're min-maxing. Most of their min-maxing is going to be. Imprints can't really do much if you low roll. You know, it is what it is. Hypercubes, not getting any hypercube. Weekly missions is just going to break your account for the foreseeable future. And that's basically it. You know, to some people it might be disappointing. By the way, I do know some people who are not necessarily whales. They're not free to play either, but they have prioritized PvE since the start of the game. And they are doing quite well. They are competing against the whales. Are they beating the whales? No, they are, you know, like top 10 in Nether Quarry. But that's basically, you know, funneling all their resources into PvE at an early point. From, you know, ever since the quarry was announced, even before then. Like, I know a lot of people that were using Rose and Chloris in just shell content, just for the fun of it. But I don't want to make the video too long. This is just, you know, explaining why some people might not get the scores that they would expect despite copying top players' builds, and it really is about min-maxing. And if you look at all the 4 points that I mentioned and you compare each one, you will see that it does add up. Also, a point that I didn't mention is RNG in the actual run, which does matter. It does matter. Like, if getting the perfect run, or like getting a good run, is not hard. Getting a perfect run is hard, but the difference between a good run and a perfect run is going to be like 300 scores at best, and then all the other points you get is just purely from min-maxing. And that's it for the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. My headset just, you see it, that's why.